Done it now. What did I do? I don't know.
My video, Fatmagic Cheats, expectedly has received a mixed response from the TF2 community. While some have looked at the evidence provided and concluded it is definitive proof of foul play, others are not as convinced, and require more evidence or explanation to what they are seeing. While I was waiting for a response from the accused themselves before releasing another video on the subject, it appears that Fatmagic does not wish to address these accusations themselves, evidenced by how he deleted my initial comment on his Steam profile with a link to the video. Although the actions Fatmagic has taken to ignore this are suspicious, others have taken the liberty of defending him and providing arguments in my comments section, attempting to explain certain factors of his gameplay, which I have deemed to be of questionable origin. Most notably, a video produced by TF-tuber Reupload on July 11th titled Fatmagic Doesn't Cheat, in which he attempts to provide a defense for Fatmagic by going over my video in a reaction-styled approach. Initially, he contacted me on Discord informing me he had made this video, and after reviewing part of the footage, I convinced him to list it publicly for others to watch and gather their own opinions on as well. Although disappointed that Fatmagic refuses to answer my criticisms against him directly, instead opting to let others do it for him, I feel this is enough to warrant a continuation of my allegations against him, and provide more evidence I have obtained to further solidify my stance in my belief of Fatmagic's cheating tendencies. To start this video off, I will be answering some of the critique and counter-arguments Reupload has given to my video, before moving on to the additional examples I briefly mentioned in my video and community post. Before I get started, it should be noted that a disclaimer is necessary to understand the perspective of Reupload and his choosing to make this video, as it is not made clear enough in the recording that he and Fatmagic are friends by his own admission.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So, have you seen the video or like parts of it or like?
I'm about halfway through. I'm at about 1929, and all I can say is I think you should public it. I think you should publicly list it.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize a lot. Fatmagic's my friend, right? And what I really want to avoid at all costs is like a weird drama situation for like no reasons. So,
okay,
yeah, that's pretty much the whole reason for this whole messaging first and stuff, because like I remember the drama thing with Zesty Jesus, and that was just bad. But I also think that Fatmagic's not a cheater, so I wanted to do a video where I just sort of say,
right, you're his friend.
I don't think so.
You want to defend your friend.
And here's why I don't think so. But I really don't want to be disrespectful to either side on any point. So.
No, I think it's a great idea. I think you should public it.
Okay. And I do get what the thingy was that I got wrong. What I thought is that
was just the first
video...
thing I noticed that was wrong. There's a couple things, but
oh, I mean, if you'd like to clarify, I'd like to correct, but I mean you don't have to.
No, I think you should just public the video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't gotcha me. Or you gonna gotcha me?
Wanna what you?
I mean, you can gotcha me, that's fine, but like...
I don't know what the word you're saying is.
Oh, gotcha is like... If I got a part of the video wrong, then you can like later say, hey, that was wrong, gotcha.
Oh, I'll probably include it on my second video.
I mean, that's fine. It's like, if it's public, that it's a public video, right? So...
Yeah.
I'm playing League right now, which is why I'm...
Cool. Was there anything else you wanted to mention or add, or?
No, I mean mostly I just wanted to say the video you made was was respectful enough. I'm sure your goal wasn't to be super nice to Fatmagic, but you didn't have to be super nice to Fatmagic.
I just presented the evidence.
Yeah.
as
It
professionally
was
as I
mostly
could.
just like, yeah, this is what I think. These are the facts as I understand them. So yeah, that's all fine and good.
All right, cool.
Indeed.
So, can't wait to see the video public so I can watch it and then use it for my next video.
All right.
All right, talk to you later.
Just I'm just trying to not throw stones in a glass house, you know, because.
Don't worry about it.
All right. Well.
I don't know why he wouldn't specify this, as he made a pinned comment on his video, pointing out a blatant mistake I had informed him about only 2 minutes into the video. But I will address more on this the further into the response we go. The last time someone accused him of cheating, Fatmagic attempted to publicly shame and ridicule the person by posting the link of the video on his Steam profile for his legion of child fans to ridicule the man into unlisting the video.
Alright, so the first point raised is not really Fatmagic is cheating, here's the evidence, but more there was a clip of him snapping to a pyro, and people or someone made a video saying, hey, this looks like you're cheating.
As I had already explained to him in our DMs, the inaccuracy of his statement is that the clip I showed in my video of the supposed pyro aim lock was the same as the clip featured in the unlisted upload of Brohouse Gaming. Brohouse Gaming's video talked about a series of moments in Fatmagic's video titled Shooting Star Sniping, starting with a clip from the video at around the 2 minute and 55 second mark, where Fatmagic shoots at an enemy player through a teammate despite having no visibility on the player.
Let's just hit him in the head, do what we're born to do. I couldn't see him through that soldier.
I believe he does a good job at explaining his thought process on why this collection of clips is suspicious. But for now, let's continue with Suryamon's video, now that the misunderstanding has been cleared up. Fatmagic would go on to post a community update. This was followed by another post saying he was taking a short hiatus. Conveniently, this hiatus happened around the same time rumors started to spread of the update which happened in June, which many believed also came with an update to Valve's anti-cheat system. Why this is important is that he has told his viewers before that he stopped playing briefly in 2016, selling his inventory even. This coincides with the timeline of when Maxbox quit cheating, Sketchek faked his death, and the major VAC ban wave resulting in 90% of competitive snipers getting banned.
Alright, I think that was the entire point raised. So, he took a pause of Team Fortress 2 in June for a month, right? Do I think this is possibly incriminating evidence? No. Possibly yes. But realistically, no. Of course, it's a weird coincidence, right? But really, it's not evidence at all. It's just a weird coincidence. That's it. Really, a pause from YouTube is not evidence. It's just not.
Skipping ahead a bit, as Suryamon rambles on, he cherry picks my next point about Fatmagic's brief hiatus from TF2 recently. Ironically enough, listing it as a coincidence, while ignoring the first part of the point regarding the last time he had done this before the major Lamau box detection of 2016. Obviously, breaks from YouTube or gaming happen, but he is willfully ignoring the larger point that these happen coincidentally around the times where detections are rumored. By this point, I thought this video was not going very well so far, which is why I urged him to make it public, as he already has minus points against him for informational inaccuracy, personal bias, and willful ignorance. But I digress. Let us continue.
I distinctly remember why I put that clip in. It's so good that it worked. It worked so much later though. It took like more than a year.
Alright, before we get into the other incriminating evidence, I think this is all that was raised about this one pyro snapping clip at the start here. So, let's get into that. Again,
Back, ladies and gentlemen.
snap. That was it. So did it really look aimbody? No. I really don't think it do. I've seen plenty of aimbots. That's not really how they look, but that is very subjective.
At this point of the video, Suryamon fumbles through his defense of Fatmagic by claiming he's seen plenty of aimbots before, then playing Fatmagic's explanation of the event that occurred.
Entirely possible that this was not only coincidental, but also totally explainable. So let's hear it from the man himself, Fatmagic.
So I set up my crosshair here, and then I hold the D button on my keyboard. But look, this whole time, I'm holding A or D and my mouse is not moving.
Unfortunately, Fatmagic's own explanation is something that is contradictory. Not only does he not keep consistent in his explanation, like how he says he was holding the D key,
And then I hold the D button on my keyboard.
then says A or D,
But look, this whole time, I'm holding A or D and my mouse is not moving.
almost implying this play-by-play was made on the spot. But as he explains why he included the clip in there, he states not only did he forget that clip existed, but that he also distinctly remembers why he included it.
I distinctly remember why I put that clip in.
How do you forget something and distinctly remember it at the same time? He can't keep the story consistent, making the excuse he comes up with all the more suspicious.
Usually, aimbots, or actually always, aimbots snap to the center of the target, and then they stay there. And it looks very skittish, like... I can't really say it in any other way. It just looks like a lot less stationary. They're both moving like this. So it would make sense for his crosshair to stay on the target that he coincidentally aimed at, pre-aiming at where people would be once he's turning the corner. It moved slightly off the center of the target, which is something aimbot would not do, from what I know how it works, which is actually not that little, because I have 7,000 hours in game and I've spectated plenty of people that actually cheat, so I have a good idea of how it looks. I've even seen people cheating on YouTube, and I know how it looks from their perspective. But I know how aimbot looks.
Continuing on from this, Suriyamon makes a claim about how an aimbot always works by having the crosshair aimed directly at the center of the target. I want you to keep this testimony in mind moving forward, as it will be very important to a clip I will be showcasing later in the video. Remember, he said he has seen aimbots before. Aside from that, it was around this point where I noticed how Suriyamon enjoys rambling on about personal anecdotes, and tossing word salads to his viewers to distract from weak counterpoints. It's poor argumentative practice, and only further weakens what you're trying to say.
Here's what the real issue seems to be, which is his next step in defense.
The thought process behind this clip is, wow, that lined up perfectly. That would be hilarious to fuck with some people.
So, it does sound a bit ridiculous. I'm inclined to agree that you would put that in on purpose just to mess with people, because it's such a short and insignificant bit. But from working with Fatmagic personally, I know that he does in fact, unlike me, put a little bit of thought into his videos. And a lot of Fatmagic's brand is people accusing him of cheating. There's a lot of videos where he gets vote kicked from the server, and as one would notice when being a YouTuber, this is content that goes well on YouTube because people watch it and they go like, yeah, he's not actually cheating, this is so hilarious that he's being kicked. And then a lot of people watch it and it like works for the YouTube game. So does he state this in a poor manner? Yes. Do I think it's possible or thinkable that Fatmagic, while seeing his own clip where he snaps to the pyro, thinks, well, that aligned, that was weird, maybe some people think that I'm cheating because of this, that would be cool if I can sort of, like, I don't want to say milk this, but take advantage of this funny coincidence. I think that's possible, but he stated it poorly. I agree to that, yes. But I don't think he's cheating because of it. No, I really don't. I don't. I sound like a dog.
Suriyamon continues his reaction to state that the excuse Fatmagic gives about his inclusion of the Pyro aimlock clip is ridiculous, but not only clarifies that he has worked personally with Fatmagic before, but also gives Fatmagic the benefit of the doubt by saying his content is somewhat centered around people calling him a cheater. I've heard this defense before, but rather than believing it as a means of dissuading arguments against him, I believe that it's something that works against the argument that he isn't cheating. Setting oneself up in this manner makes any discussion of the possibility of cheating easily brushed away as a sort of perfect alibi, Because if one produces legitimate accusations against the individual, they can simply say, oh, that's their shtick, is that they get people to call him out for cheating, therefore he isn't cheating. This is a weak argument, as simply being called out for cheating and making light of the situation does not guarantee one's innocence. It is a cover used to convince the average viewer that he is legitimate, despite there being a multitude of different people speaking up to the contrary. I'm going to start with the most obvious clip in his video.
Let's see it.
Checking. Notice how often I do 180s. Also,
Alright.
I don't know how the hell that hit. Like, how
And
was
he
that?
acknowledges that was a weird shot. But was it never on his head? Okay, there it is. Yes, it is. It is on his head. It is on his head for a split second. It was in fact not off his head.
There is no way you're going to convince anyone with half a brain cell that this is a legitimate shot.
Come on, man.
You
He
meekly
was
try to
literally
play
on the
it
head.
off puzzlingly, asking how that registered as a headshot, but we both know why.
But he was
You
on the head.
use
though.
silent aim. How are you trying to play this off?
Real quick, silent aim is when it's within the area, you click, and it doesn't even snap to it, but just does it server-sided, so it looks like you didn't never snap or do any funny business, but he still headshot over here. Like, you shoot here, and over there's the headshot. That's what silent aim is.
Off as legit.
Right,
Seeing
yeah,
that huge gap between where you're aiming
He
at the spy's
moved
hand
over the face.
and where
did.
the head hitbox is.
I feel like I need to say this. Is it thinkable? Yes, it is. It is thinkable. But is it likely? No, not at all. It's not. Yes, it is possible, though. It's possible.
Separate key binding, adding this to the seemingly endless list of coincidences.
I mean, it's not really endless, is it? It's 1, 2, 3 thus far.
There's a couple of problems here. Firstly, a common cheater tactic is to take your suspicious shots and feign surprise that the shot landed to make it seem more genuine. This is a tactic he employs in multiple videos apart from just this one.
That hits.
Secondly, your analysis of the shot, albeit flawed given the frame you decided to freeze it on, is actually further proof of trigger bot usage. Originally, when I had started editing the video together, I had noticed the shot actually does swipe over the bottom edge of the head hitbox, but decided to leave the script and editing unchanged to see if people actually caught this. As you can see by this more in-depth analysis of the shot, there is only a singular frame where his crosshair passes over the head hitbox, right at the very bottom corner of it. Now, let's take a brief aside to talk to all the people who I proved have no idea what they're talking about regarding lag compensation. Hit registry and collision with hit scan weapons favors the point of view of the attacker using lag compensation. This is why you see shots that are fired before an enemy takes cover, yet take damage after they're already outside the field of view of the attacker. The server is taking note of when the shot was fired, then attributing the appropriate reaction based off the time the player is shot, not after. This, of course, is in accordance to the player's ping, counted in milliseconds. What this means is that if you have a ping of 80 or 80 milliseconds, any shot that you fire that hits an enemy will register 80 milliseconds from the point in time the shot was placed, and confirm server side to have hit. To the people who used lag compensation to excuse this shot, how is it that he is at the same time lagging enough for his aim to be compensated in accordance to the amount of lag he is experiencing, yet at the same time able to perfectly hit shots the same frame his crosshair first passes the head hitbox? It doesn't make sense, and it's clear that people are parroting this response from someone else without having an actual idea of what they're talking about. You can't give the excuse he's lagging if he's still hitting frame-perfect shots. Backtracking or lagged hitboxes don't appear in front of a player moving forward, they appear behind them. This also goes for the people who blindly believed the clip was silent aim, as they also did not do their own research and was simply agreeing with what someone else was saying. I want you, the viewer, to ask yourself this. Is it really another coincidence that Fatmagic swipes his crosshair across the head hitbox right at the very bottom corner for a single frame and somehow shoots perfectly at a millisecond's instance and hits the shot, despite apparently suffering from lag? Food for thought.
Sir placement. Like, I'm gonna be a maniac. Like, you don't have to be like this thorough, to be honest.
Okay. So, incriminating footage again of him killing an engineer with
just
his
a little
SMG.
before the last one.
Okay, to even understand what the misunderstanding is going to be difficult, but I'll try my best to understand. So, the wound on the engineer is being drawn. First draws the wound, and then it also makes a blood splatter effect from that wound, as well as a little damage number. But the blood splatter and damage number will only happen as soon as the server sends back, yes, it really hit. When it looks like on your client side it hit, but the server says, no, you really did. When the counter goes from 24 to 23 on the bullets and the second shot is being fired, causing a new wound, only then is the first blood splatter drawn over here. This blood splatter is for the bullet, the first bullet, the bullet from 25 to 24. The blood splatter is being drawn over here because when you hit the engineer from 25 to 24 with the first bullet, the engineer was there, with the wound being there. As you can see. This is really tough because it's being drawn, the blood splatter is being drawn on the second shot. So here, shot 15 is being fired. It's here in 3D space. And then shot 14 misses, but the wound from shot 15 is being drawn right now, because remember, the delay is exactly one shot by sheer coincidence. This shot that hits the ground over here and causes a little dirt splatter actually hit the engineer, because at the exact same time as the blood splatter is being drawn, the new damage number is also being drawn. When he then fires shot 13, which hits the engineer again, there is no damage number. There is no new damage number and there is no new blood splatter. That's because it's delayed and the shot that actually hit the dirt is only now being accounted for, and that shot of course did nothing.
This is actually the first point in the video that I found to be informative and compelling. Suryamon's explanation of the blood splatter and wounds on the player model made sense in the context of the clip, where the wound is displayed first, then registers the splatter and damage increase over the player. Furthermore, looking back over the clip, I noticed the dirt impact multiple people have brought up, which I did not catch before. Although I still find his aim to be rather odd in this instance, I will give credit where it is due and agree that upon his explanation, it seems more plausible than I had initially interpreted. Of course, the caveat to this further disproves the implication of lag compensation, as his hits are registering within a reasonable time, which would make his sniper shots implausible under the assumption he's utilizing a trigger bot. But I digress. The next couple of clips are going to showcase use of a cheat feature known as trigger bot. This clip, at 3:53 of the video, doesn't seem too out of the ordinary to the average viewer, but upon further inspection, you can tell that this shot was intended to hit the very edge of the soldier's head hitbox,
Yes.
if not blocked by the hitbox of the hand in front of it.
Yes.
As you can see by this clip, a mere 6 seconds after,
But where was the...
intended to hit the very edge of the soldier's head hitbox,
Yes.
if not blocked by the hitbox of the hand in front of it.
But why is this proof? This literally isn't... This doesn't say anything. What does that say about him using cheats? It really doesn't. With or without cheats, it is entirely possible that this would occur.
Multiple
See the
examples.
supplementation.
As you can see by this clip, a mere 6 seconds after, at 3:59, his crosshair placement is at the absolute edge of the sniper's head hitbox,
Okay.
registering a headshot and killing the player.
But what's
Never
wrong
mind
with that?
he was aiming at him directly through the wall before, as that could be explained as simple situational awareness, map knowledge.
Oh, I get it. Okay, I get it. I think the issue is, say this is the crosshair, right? He fires as soon as it starts to align with the head hitbox. And that's the incriminating evidence, because that is how the trigger bot works, right? First of all, that's not evidence, that's coincidence. Or else, any headshot anyone has ever done that wasn't dead center, but instead at the wasn't dead center, but instead at the edge of the head hitbox, would be incriminating evidence towards cheating. Second of all, him pre-aiming that sniper is something that comes natural to anyone who's ever played that map. Because in Badwater, there's always a sniper there if you pre-aim that spot.
Common
That's
enemy
a bit
placement,
ridiculous.
indicating
I'm
where
sorry.
the player
It's a bit
would be
ridiculous.
standing in. Unfortunately, it seems the last point he raised was the only good one in the entire video, as he starts by cherry-picking the first example I used, and labeling the main point of him firing the first instance his crosshair makes contact with the head hitbox as coincidence, predictably. One of the major points of my video is that everything you bring up in regards to Fatmagic cheating is disregarded as coincidence. The first time something like this happens, it's coincidence. The second time it happens, it's suspicious. The third time it happens, it's blatant. Using footage from his 10,000 subscriber Q&A special, we can see that as he practices his speed and accuracy, his movements do not display the same characteristics of aiming he does frequently in his video. Keeping in mind that it is large block targets and not smaller targets, there's no footage of his proposed micro adjustments as he calls them, but his aim is steady and is able to flick comfortably towards the targets to acquire shots. Let's take another example from his videos, and look at how he used to aim a couple years ago in Bad Aimbot. Here, we can see that the shots he takes are calculated, aimed in a way with regards to player positioning and movement, even showcasing proper flicking technique. So why is it that in his more recent uploads, has he adopted this strange swiping style of aiming when he was hitting shots in the past while aiming normally? The inconsistencies and changes in his playstyle only make his more recent uploads that much more suspicious, but will most likely just be explained as coincidence again. Going back to Suryamon's defense, it appears he's willfully ignorant to the clip he's watching, as it not only shows he's already in an engagement with the enemy sniper, but I also explain that him pre-aiming that spot can be explained by a multitude of differing factors that he just repeats without actually paying attention to what I'm saying. A bit later, at 5:03 in the video, you can see his crosshair do a drive-by across the head, followed by some sort of little circle.
Also known
I'm
as
not
flicking.
Sure what the purpose or
Alright, so he's using this movement. I just got the headshot. He's doing this movement, right? Let's say that torch over there is a head. If you want to flick headshot that torch, you would do this. But if you want to flick to the torch and be ready to shoot and adjust again, you would do this. You would snap back to the torch, and the motion that you end up doing is this circular motion. I don't see why that's aimbot behavior. That's how you snipe people.
This part of the video has me concerned, to say the least. It starts with Suryamon attempting to explain Fatmagic's change of aiming style as a simple flick, when we've already seen what his flicks looked like before. He asserts that the circular movement of aiming is a flick, while showcasing a very odd clip of him shooting an engineer. Not only is this not a flick, it's a swipe, but his crosshair doesn't appear to make contact with the engineer's head at all, viewing the frame before he fired to the next frame when he fired. Note, I'm not saying Suryamon is suddenly a cheater because of this one clip, despite his rather lukewarm reaction to it and seemingly fake laugh in response to it a bit later. What I am saying is that yes, it is entirely possible that a shot like this can be produced that's genuine. However, I'm saying this can happen to some shots by coincidence. Not nearly every single shot Fatmagic has taken in recent uploads. The shot itself isn't the problem. It's the frequency of these shots he makes. Much like his frequency for getting random crits. Moving on, he incorrectly refers to my point as aimbot behavior when I am clearly talking about triggerbot. It even said so at the start of the section, so once again Suryamon is either willfully ignorant or blatantly trying to argue a point I'm not making. Either way leading to minus points for inaccuracy. If you're going to respond with a counter argument, you should at least make the effort to try and pay attention to what the other person is saying. But if you're a good enough sniper, you should have the muscle memory to place your crosshair directly on someone's head, such as in this clip. Not swipe across their head, as Fatmagic does constantly.
Well, it's a difference in playstyle. It's flicking and not stable. I don't know what the name for the other.
I've already discussed that this style of flicking, as you keep wanting to refer to it as incorrectly, is different from how he would flick before. And the clip I showed was from my own video of me flicking onto the enemy sniper's head.
It's flicking, right? You flick above the
Well,
head.
he doesn't drive by the head, like I explained in the last
Flicks
clip.
again in this
The
one.
flick that he intends
Flick.
to show off
Right,
here
yeah.
looks too unnatural to be legitimate. These corrections, or micro-adjustments, as Fatmagic likes to refer to them as, are nothing more than excuses.
Okay, now this is the first thing in this entire video so far where I would say that shot's a bit sussy. His usual shots, Fatmagic's usual shots, he flicks right to left, and not left and then right again. It's a bit strange, but this is so far the first thing that really is aimbot behavior that coincidentally aligns with him, because people with aimbot would do the same thing, because what you want to do is you would just want to get your crosshair above the head. So what you end up doing, let me demonstrate with the torch again, is you just go, you just move it above the torch, right, twice, to give the aimbot 2 chances of firing, first to the left and then to the right. And as soon as the aimbot registers, yes, we are above the head, it fires. But one shot that coincidentally not looks like he's aimbotting, but aligns with what aimbotters do. There's a difference here, right? It doesn't look like he's aimbotting, but aimbotters just do the same thing. It's not at all evidence. It is once more a coincidence.
Suriyamon then attempts to make himself appear not completely biased in his response by saying this was the first thing in my video that appeared suspicious. Previously mentioned in my other video, other TF2 cheaters point out how the Z pattern style of aiming Fatmagic employs is a dead giveaway for use of a trigger bot. Unfortunately for Suriyamon, he continues to incorrectly call it an aimbot, while also calling it a coincidence, and essentially backtracking on what he just said by saying it isn't evidence. At this point, I don't see how people could find him credible with multiple mistakes, personal bias, and inconsistent opinions. While I have been thorough in my analysis of the evidence provided here, if it was only me providing my thoughts, so my assistant Jaded Roses, a former TF2 cheater, who helped gather this information, given that these people have many years of cheating experience, much like Maxbox did when he made his TF2 Spot the Hacker videos, I believe their insight is very relevant and valid to the matters at hand. Points out that the Z pattern aiming Fatmagic consistently utilizes is a dead giveaway of aimbot or aim assistance. Current cheater Fraxinus expressed bewilderment at the evidence.
Okay, so one of the 2 cheaters here says it's possible in this thing, and they seem much more inclined to think that the C pattern on the Harvest Soldier on the roof there is a lot more incriminating. They seem to agree on that, where on this, only one person seems fully sold.
Nitro marked, I need a vaccinator medic, P silent. Nitro, of course, being a hack client for Team Fortress 2.
Alright, I did not
and
know.
personally knowing, he explains that it is a feature of Nitro, which is able to detect cheating players enabling certain features.
2 things I have to say to that. First of all, I have no idea if that's true, but assuming it is, I would find it hard to believe that Fatmagic would leave this in knowing his own cheats and knowing what the message means. But really, I've never used Nitro. Well, I just don't have enough information, but I would find it hard to believe that Fatmagic would leave this in knowing what it means. I
Detected
find that
Fatmagic.
weird.
Then, upon further inspection of his own, he proposed different scenarios when presented with the evidence, concludes that Fatmagic's gameplay in the previous clips was not legitimate. There are few things Suriyamon says in response to the other cheaters' opinions on Fatmagic in regards to the clips shown in my previous video. Starting with Fraxinus' response, saying how he didn't seem too convinced, and then speaking on how he didn't know about the Nitro cheat client and its previous ability to mark other cheaters who use specific features in a server. Suriyamon goes on to say that he doesn't know why Fatmagic would include that part of the video under the implication that he knew what the message meant. But if you didn't even know about the Nitro cheat client, how would he? Suriyamon then goes on to say that he's never used Nitro, which I just found odd, since he didn't follow it up by saying, or any cheat software, or something like that. But that was just something odd I wanted to point out. Like, obviously, if you're not cheating, you've never used cheat software in general before, but whatever. Continuing on from that point, he says really nothing else about the rest of the opinions shared, which I found also odd, considering Reupload's analysis goes over multiple scenarios and explains a lot of arguments people seem to be making in Fatmagic's defense. This video has gone on long enough, and I think I've made my point abundantly clear that he's cheating.
Okay, so in this entire video there wasn't really definitive proof. There wasn't. But if Fatmagic was cheating, which I don't think he is, and I don't think you would get that opinion from this video, he would probably not upload that footage to YouTube if he had even 5 brain cells. So this was inconclusive, but from this alone, I'm more than willing to believe that Fatmagic is not cheating. Draw your own conclusion. I think he's not cheating. I think none of the clips shown in this video were incriminating towards Fatmagic, and that's my final verdict. Fatmagic, buddy-o, if you're watching this, hey, I'm with you. I don't see anything here that's incriminating at best.
To finish off the video, Suriyamon restates his belief that Fatmagic doesn't cheat, explaining that he wouldn't upload the videos he does if he was cheating. This goes against the nature of his channel others have brought up as a point, that he pretends or baits responses out of people calling him a cheater, while also going against Fatmagic's own belief that because of the way he portrays himself in this manner, it would make it very unlikely that cheating accusations would be widely believed. Does it really seem that unlikely he wouldn't upload clips of him cheating if he knew he wouldn't get caught? Let's use this as a segue to talk about an upload by a user named JakeFrost95, titled 2,000 Hours of Legit Cheating, where he admits to using cheat software in Team Fortress 2 and showcases how he was able to get away with it for so long. Despite it being blatantly obvious from his perspective that he's cheating, to the average viewer or spectator, it appeared as though he wasn't, and was simply good. A link to this video and all others featured will be down in the description below. Now that Suriyamon's video has finished, originally, I was going to move on to the next part of the video, which was initially going to be where I review others' footage and analysis of Fatmagic cheating. But on July 13th, Fatmagic uploaded a video with quite an interesting description. I thought I'd take a moment to talk about it first before moving on. The description reads as follows.
I know I like to play around and mess with people about the cheating thing, but I will be 100% real here. I think people who cheat at anything in life, tests, or games or any of that stuff, have a mentality that does not enable them to improve at anything they do. Therefore, I do not respect it. If I did not have a growth mindset, I wouldn't be where I am today. I am not cheating, never had cheated, and never will. I can assure you I am legit and have worked my ass off to be able to aim like I do. That being said, I believe I have so much more to work on, and even have a notebook where I write down things for myself to remember to practice. You can see it in my gameplay from the first videos to now. I have become a much better FPS player, and I am still on the journey to go further. So I find it funny that people think I am cheating despite how much I miss in the same videos that they claim I cheat in. Which is all I am looking at when wanting to get better. I am not a villain, but just a guy who has a passion for games. To be honest, I could care less if people think I am cheating. Which is why I usually don't respond. But I do find it entertaining. It's like they forgot that my entire channel's first videos were me making people think I was cheating. Perhaps you could say I have mastered the art, haha. Anyways, for you fans, as I have said before, it isn't wise to argue with people that act immature, and it would save you some of your sanity to not partake in getting berated, or getting involved in pointless drama. In terms of drama, I do not like drama, I do not participate in drama, and I thought I escaped dealing with drama after high school. I am not a drama channel, and am not even participating in my own drama. It has been abundantly clear to me that this is just a stupid stunt weird hate campaign, and I want to know part of it. There was even an attempt of a raid on my Discord server while I was on vacation, so this really shows how these people are. I will not address or waste my time arguing against the allegations. From what I see, the evidence is garbage and they do not know what skill looks like. Simple as that. No pseudo-detective skills are going to change that. If any of you still think I am cheating, that is your choice, but I hope you came to the conclusion yourself through your own research, and not because someone else said so. That would be an informed and wise way to come to a conclusion. Anyone pursuing the harassment further is beating a dead horse, and we as a community got to treat it as such by ignoring it. We need to do more to pound signs of ETF2, and not creating drama out of nothing and arguing with one another is one of the ways we can do that. Once you start to harass these people back, you have joined them on their level. So don't. This is all I will say on the matter, so do not expect anything more.
It's so strange the way he decided to continue addressing the accusations. You know how I like to say that the behaviors and egos of cheaters ultimately proves their downfall. So this giant description certainly tells us a lot with the Freudian slips and how vitriolic it is. There's a certain anger in his words, but let's address some of the key points of his rebuttal. After making bold opinions on people who cheat, simultaneously dehumanizing them while propping himself up as a morally superior being, he states, "I am not cheating, never have cheated, and never will." Unfortunately, this goes against what you said in your Q&A video, where you admit to cheating before.
Have I ever cheated in any game? A long time ago, I remember using a hacked client in Minecraft.
Whether this answer was made in jest or not, your words currently are ignoring the admission you made so long ago. If it was true, I guess all those things you said about cheaters applies to you. This is further exemplified with how you talk about yourself in the next couple of lines, stating you have much more to work on, that cheater mentality clearly holding you back from improvement. You make a strange assertion that you have a notebook you use to remind yourself to practice in a video game that you play casually. It's really odd, and I don't believe you at all. You say that you've become a better FPS player, when I think you've gotten worse. You've become lazier in your heightened status, leading you to make obvious mistakes which reveal you're cheating. You then try and claim that missing shots is proof that you're not cheating, when if we look again to the 2,000-hour legit cheating video, various tips on how to hide your gameplay in a way to prevent others from thinking you're cheating include missing your shots. So that's not really something that dissuades the argument. Fatmagic then starts to make a very strange remark, saying how he's not a villain, obviously stated from his guilty conscience. Why he felt the need to tell his fanbase this, when they already believe him wholeheartedly that he isn't cheating, only makes him appear more suspicious. He goes on to say he could care less about people thinking he's cheating, but then makes a miniature essay addressing it in his video, and even the subject to an entire video. He can't stay consistent in his lies, especially seeing as he continues this point by saying that his channel is based around, or started from, people thinking he's cheating. Which contradicts what he just said, because you obviously need to care about it to base your channel around it and ultimately gain popularity from it. Again, however, just because your channel is framed this way doesn't mean you are innocent. It's just the perfect alibi. Moving on, he addresses his child fans by telling them to just ignore the arguments against him completely, to not partake in what he calls pointless drama. He repeats this several times, that it's drama, he doesn't participate in drama, etc. Yet here he is attempting to spread more drama by straight up lying about events. He claims this is a weird stunt or hate campaign, despite the fact I was a subscriber and supporter of his in the past, even making a video which featured him in it. I was a fan, and like a fan does, I looked a little closer at your videos, since I would rewatch them, and started noticing discrepancies in your gameplay. He then attempts to lie about a situation which occurred that neither me nor my fans took part in, assuming that we did, with no proof other than his word, unlike when I pointed out how his fans were stating publicly to mass report my video. You state that you will not waste your time arguing against the allegations, when before you did it just fine regarding the pyro clip. So what changed? What? Because there's a litany of more clips to go off of and explain away, all of a sudden you don't want to waste your time? This makes you sound like you're scared to address the allegations. You even use the common closet cheater line of, they don't know what skill looks like. Like, come on. How many closet cheaters, when called out, have used that exact same line? He then ends the paragraph by poking the fire a bit more, but I'd say my pseudo-detective skills are better than your pseudo-innocence. The final paragraph backtracks to state how if people still think he's cheating, that's their choice, but to not take my word for it, and reach the conclusion themselves. Fortunately, there's people that have, such as Macedonian, who's provided his own analysis I will review later, and it's much better than my own. Continuing on, he says that it would be an informed and wise way to come to a conclusion, which is something I've already stated before in my previous video, inviting people to talk about it. He then begins to preach from atop his soapbox about the allegations, disregarding them as harassment against him, and that collectively, as a community, we should all ignore any allegations against him because they're harassment, which is such a scummy and obvious tactic to get people to stop investigating into him cheating. He even punctuates it by using #SaveTF2 to use to his defense. This isn't about drama, this isn't about harassment, and this isn't about #SaveTF2. This is about calling out a closet cheater, and the vain attempts at trying to distract from that point by emotionally manipulating the reader that we need to come together as a community, and using #SaveTF2 as a defensive barrier against discussion about it, lying about events which have happened, and claiming all allegations are harassment or simple drama is disgusting. What happened to the bravado you showed before, jovially laughing at the pyro clip and explaining it away with ease? That same bravado that led you to harass someone yourself by publicly ridiculing them on your Steam profile. This entire description/defense is nothing but disingenuous moral signaling and projection. But I've gone on about it long enough. Let's move on. Now comes the part I'm doing a little differently from last time, where I review the footage others have gathered against Fatmagic from their own analysis. Again, all these videos and more will be in the description below for your own analysis and to form your own conclusions on. Starting with the user Macedonian and their video Fatmagic Exposed by Macedonian and @Venussian Rapper, they start their analysis by admitting they are a cheater, sharing their own opinion on Fatmagic's video, How to Aim Like an Aimbot, providing more clips which I did not include in my initial video about this. I will primarily be focusing on these new clip inclusions, encouraging others to watch the full video on their own to form their own opinions. Starting at the 39-second mark, we see a clip of one of Fatmagic's patented swipe flicks going over this soldier's head, the nature of which contradicts Suryamon's previous explanation of the nature of flicking in this style, while also deviating from the style of flicking Fatmagic employed use of before that I had mentioned. At the 46-second mark, Fatmagic's crosshair placement is on the shoulder of the same soldier who is now hiding behind the payload cart. Once fired, despite his crosshair not being on the head hitbox, it still registers a headshot and killing the player. From the enemy's perspective, they are facing to the left of the cart, while Fatmagic takes the shot from the right-hand side. Two possibilities arise as to how this could have registered as a headshot. Either this was an instance of silent aim, or an instance of trigger bot. While not knowing the exact size of the head hitbox in this instance, it seems unlikely this was a trigger bot, even if his crosshair was placed at the very edge of the soldier's head hitbox, given the distance between Fatmagic's crosshair placement and the head, leading me to conclude this is aimbot usage paired with silent aim. At the 53-second mark, Macedonian points out a failure in Fatmagic's trigger bot as he attempts to swipe over the enemy demoman's head. As shown by a clip I showed in my previous video of trigger bot demonstration, usage of a trigger bot is not 100%, leading to shots even as simple as these being missed. This is one of the reasons why trigger bot is the hardest cheat feature to detect when used by someone competent at playing the game. And because of this, my opinion of this being an example of trigger bot is inconclusive. However, fast forwarding to the 3-minute and 54-second mark in Macedonian's video, we can see a very clear indication of trigger bot failure as Fatmagic swipes across the enemy spy's head several times without taking a shot. If this was a normal flick, a shot would have been attempted much earlier than he made, leading to the conclusion that he was attempting to gain the headshot from trigger bot usage. A dead giveaway to closet cheating snipers is the Z pattern aiming to force the trigger bot to fire, as explained before by others. At 107, we see Fatmagic's aim attempt to catch up to a fleeing spy player, where unlike his usual method of swiping across the player's head as he showcased in the video already, stops his aim at the back of the spy at the rightmost boundary of the spy's head hitbox. What's interesting about this clip is that a couple seconds before this moment, he attempts to do his usual swiping motion across the head, but doesn't fire, probably because of trigger bot failure. Looking closely, you can see the spy's movement change direction in midair, and if Fatmagic was utilizing backtracking for his crosshair placement and trigger bot usage, it would make sense it wouldn't register where he swipes, as the backtrack hitbox behind the spy was not available at that angle he was aiming at, but would be available where he aims in the clip Macedonian features. This also works for an argument against lag compensation, as the shot he takes registers nearly instantaneously if you listen to the audio cues from the clip. At 124, another clip is displayed where Fatmagic swipes across the head of the enemy heavy, but subsequently misses the shot. While this might be another instance of a trigger bot failing to hit the player due to the player's lag, I'm not fully convinced, although the way he tries to compensate by updating his crosshair placement looks suspicious. The shot he takes afterward doesn't make much sense, as if he's trying to hit the backtrack hitbox behind the heavy as the player moves to the left. More so, the example of crosshair placement a few seconds later does show he manually took the shot, at least in my opinion, as the blood developed on the shoulder where he was aiming at a few frames before, with the blood splatter and damage registration appearing slightly after. However, this raises a question. Why is it that with this shot, with his crosshair firmly placed on the soldier's shoulder and producing a blood mark, does it register damage here as a body shot, when the soldier shot earlier in the video registered damage as a headshot despite there being no blood mark, the crosshair placement is far from the head, and is placed just on the edge of the head hitbox? Surely, given the previous shot to the shoulder Fatmagic made, it should have registered as a body shot, and not a headshot, based off this clip later in the video, right? Well, actually, if you look closer at the clip of the soldier behind the payload cart, you can see that Fatmagic once again makes his single frame perfect shot as his crosshair passes over the soldier's ear, right on the edge of the head hitbox. Here's the real question to ask yourself. How many times in your entire playtime of playing TF2 have you made shots like this? Then compare it to the amount of times Fatmagic does it in just one match, let alone from just one video. But let's move on for now. 146 shows a shot on a mid-air medic, which again shows a swipe without concern for hitbox placement, opting again to fire at the first instance where the crosshair makes contact with the boundary of the head hitbox. 155 provides another swipe across the head against this pyro moving forward, but the curious thing about this shot is that from the blood mark that appears on the shoulder of the pyro's model, it still registers as a headshot against the player. Using Suryamon's argument from earlier, why didn't this register as a body shot if the mark clearly indicated the shot registered in the shoulder and not the head? At 201, another shot on the same pyro is taken, a swipe as usual, but registering as a body shot. But do you notice anything odd about this shot? Taking notes from Suryamon's earlier explanation regarding the SMG shot that hit the ground, zooming in shows that the shot should have missed this pyro, as it registers hitting into the ground, creating a dirt particle effect. However, playing the clip through, we see that in the exact same spot where the shot registered hitting the ground, the blood particle effect spawned from where he took the shot, yet again on the edge of a hitbox. If what Suryamon and others were asserting earlier as being true, that the SMG shot did not land, evidenced by the impact it made in the background, spawning a dirt particle effect, then this shouldn't have registered as being hit here. Or, alternatively, this would mean that the SMG shot should have hit and didn't miss at all, since this shot, which clearly impacted the ground, did register a hit. You can't hold the argument that it didn't hit as a defense, when that same argument is used in a later clip that proves against this defense. This is yet another case of Fatmagic's trigger bot, especially with the swiping edge of the hitbox nature of how the shot was registered. 216 displays Fatmagic missing a shot, which is a popular argument people like to use in defense of him, but in this case I think it only proves more suspicious. He begins by aiming at the opposing sniper, once again attempting to swipe across the player's head, but the sudden downward motion the enemy uses to change positions leads to Fatmagic's shot going wide. Instead of attempting to micro-adjust, or guiding his aim in a manner to meet his opponent's movement, he continues to move his crosshair straight across, and seemingly attempting to take fire at nothing. Even he had to see this large gap between where his crosshair was when he fired and the opponent's head. So what led him to believe this shot would land here at all? My guess is that his trigger bot failed here due to the sudden change in movement downward. But not only that, as this clip counters Fatmagic's explanation of crosshair placement and micro-adjustments he was trying to make. Immediately after, at 221, Fatmagic's continued strange crosshair placement and micro-adjustments show him making an odd upward swipe across the sniper's head in an L pattern, the blood mark of which indicates that his shot registered in the sniper's hat. While not as egregious as some of the other examples shown already, there are more oddities to point out with this shot. For starters, it's another instance of a perfect frame 1 headshot, the shot taking place directly after his crosshair moves from the shoulder's hitbox to the first instance of where his crosshair aligns with the head hitbox. Second, the shot registers nearly instantaneously, noted by how the ammo counter changes the immediate frame after the shot is taken, with damage and blood particle effects appearing approximately 70 milliseconds after. Why this is important is because, for the defense of Fatmagic, people have stated lag compensation as an excuse towards some of his more suspicious of shots. The lag that he is experiencing on average, information of which is seen when he checks the scoreboard occasionally, is about 80 milliseconds, meaning that he experiences a delay at most of 0.08 seconds. Now, I don't think I have to tell you that keeping track of this information at a constant and adjusting your shots accordingly is ludicrous, especially when ping is always fluctuating. But it's worth noting anyways, given that keeping this delay in mind, he makes shots that both ignore and embrace this lag compensation argument. However, much like the case with the SMG and the dirt particle, you can't have your cake and eat it too. 233 is but one of many examples at this point of strange aiming oddities as he swipes upward towards a pyro's head, attempting to get a headshot but registering a body shot instead. Looking closer at the frame he fires the shot, we can see a blood mark right at the nape of the pyro's neck, again on the exact edge of the head hitbox. So why didn't it register a headshot, you might be asking? Well, that's because a trigger bot is not 100% foolproof, as I have previously explained and showcased. Given the way the model was posed as the player jumped in the air, the upper torso hitbox overlapped the edge of the pyro's head hitbox, which is why you see both a blood mark on the back of the pyro and on the pyro's head at the same time. 241 is another suspicious shot, but one that doesn't scream usage of a trigger bot. It's perfectly reasonable that someone could make this shot on their own, and the only thing that seems odd about it is, again, the nature of which he flicks, which is why I call them swipes. 248 appears to be another trigger bot failure, as instead of attempting to place his crosshair ahead of the player he's aiming at to compensate for the player's positioning, he instead decides to make a strange shot into the advancing player's shoulder, continuing the crosshair movement in a vain attempt at connecting to the back edge of the scout's head hitbox, despite the trigger bot already taking the shot. Trigger bots have many features that can be customized, such as only firing when passing over certain hitboxes, but can also be used to activate as soon as crosshair contact is made with any part of the player's model. The failure comes from his poor crosshair placement, allowing his trigger bot to activate before he's moved to the head hitbox to register a headshot, which is why we see him continue to move his crosshair in an attempt to swipe, but stops once realizing he's already taken the shot. The irony of this part in his video is that he tries to explain how players moving in straight lines, the easiest moving targets for snipers to hit, are the ones who give him trouble, which makes no sense at all for those who are even average at sniper. The clip at 255, in reference to the other clips and explanations we've covered before, is what I consider to be definitive proof to the argument of silent aim. To explain this clip fully as to how it's silent aim, we must first watch Jake Frost 95's response to my previous accusation, titled Fatmagic's Silent Aim. In his video, he further corrects my misinterpretation of silent aim by explaining how shots taken with silent aim activated will gravitate to the center mass of the hitbox, in this instance being the head hitbox, and produce the particle effects from that point, despite the crosshair placement. He also demonstrates that the particle effects do not mimic this with legit headshots, as the effects originate from the point where the crosshair registered a hit against the player, even if said shot is on the edge of the head hitbox. Now, looking back at the clip at approximately 8 minutes and 48 seconds into Fatmagic's video, we see his crosshair placement as he moves it around the scout's head, never making contact with the center of the head hitbox itself. Yet, strangely enough, the blood particle effect appears at the center of where the scout's head hitbox was. Jake Frost 95 already explained how this cannot be replicated with legit shots, and we see that Fatmagic's crosshair never made contact with the center of the scout's head. Never mind how the shot fires above the scout's head, looking at the change in the ammo counter. There is no conceivable way this is anything other than silent aim with what we know of how it works from Jake Frost 95's explanation. This even coincides with Suriamon's testimony made previously of how he explained an aimbot works by targeting the center, even taking into the account of the possibility of there being lag compensation with the shot being delayed. The crosshair placement at any time he had the possibility of firing and registering a headshot is betrayed by the location of where the blood particle effects are produced from. they would originate not from the center of the head hitbox, as it clearly shows in Fatmagic's video, and as Jake Frost 95 explained, but where the crosshair passes over the edge of the head hitbox to the right hand side, the only logical way he could have made a legitimate headshot on the player. But as the particle effects show, this is not a legitimate shot, an irrefutable 100% proof of silent aim usage. I was going to continue further with Macedonian's video, as well as go over more videos in defense of Fatmagic, but once I encountered this clip, I felt it showed me all I needed to see to prove my point. Of course, there's other things across his videos, such as crit bucket usage and the like, to be brought up, but for the overall point I was trying to prove, I think this is it. I'm glad that people are discussing this, whether they agree with me or not. Having dialogue and sharing opinions with one another from different perspectives helps inform others, and compels individuals to form their own consensus through personal inspection and analysis. It's partially why I started with such a smaller form video on the subject, with examples primarily taken from the single video, to invite others to see things from my perspective when watching some of his other content and forming opinions of their own. That's what any good fan of a creator should do in support of the person they're watching, critiquing and stating their own opinions on something, even if the person they watch disagrees. I was a fan of Fatmagic. I even made a video where I found him in a game and played with him. Over time, my interest in his channel waned, leading me to take a deeper look into his videos and discovering these things you're watching today. If I wasn't a subscriber to Fatmagic in the past, this video probably wouldn't have even been made, and it's most likely the same reason why you're watching now. This video couldn't have been made without the help of Suriamon, Jake Frost 95, Jaded Roses, Macedonian, and countless others who have provided their insight, opinions, and critique to not only my first video, but in general regarding this entire process. And I want to take the time to thank you all. This has been Venussian Rapper, and thanks for watching.
What has made me think that this was not proof of aimbot? Well, aimbots snap to the center of the target, and then they stay there. And it looks very skittish, like... I can't really say it in any other way.